see possibilities. Always see possibilities and believe that God can turn even the black stones into gold. God can turn the black stones into gold. If you see gold from the beginning, when it is not refined, it is not beautiful. But when they put it into the fire will now melt it and the beauty will come out. See possibilities. Even when things are going wrong, see possibilities. God passes through lots of process before it gets to its refining process. So that thing you're going through right now is the process. Don't worry, you will come out refined. Don't worry, when you come out, men, women, when they see you, they will see the beauty of God radiating in you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. You are only in the refining process. Say to yourself, I am in the refining process. It's just a matter of time. Psalm 126 verse 1 says, when the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. What you're going through, when God will turn it around and turn it into gold, even you, it will seem as if you're dreaming. That is why a songwriter says, leave it there, leave it there. Take your problems to the Lord and leave it there. He will surely deliver you if you put your trust in Him. Take your problems to the Lord and leave it there. Let's sing that song one more time. Leave it there. Leave it there. Take your problems to the Lord and leave it there. He will surely deliver you if you put your trust in Him. Take your problems to the Lord and leave it there. Whatever it is that you're going through, leave it there. I remember in a time in my life where it seems as if situations are strong and tough. I looked up to God and I said, God, I have nowhere to go. I have no one to turn to. I have no one to rely on. But I know this situation facing me right now, I know that you're the only one that can bring me out of it. And I looked up to God and I cried. And I said to God, it took me 9 years before you gave me children. And you giving me a child or giving me children, He said your blessings is without sorrow. He said your blessings are without sorrow. So why should my own case be different? At that point, I think I've shared this story with the women, a part of it. When I gave birth to my twin, in the process of giving birth to those children, when the first one, my son, came out, after some minutes, the second one came. Why the midwife was telling me push, I pushed. And she said to me, push. I pushed. While I was pushing, the next thing I heard her, she screamed, Jesus. When she shouted Jesus, in my weak state, I asked her, what is it? No, a woman who is already weak. At that moment when I asked her what is it, she said nothing. She carried the child and laid the child down on the bed. And after some time, that same day, we left and we came back home. When we got home, I never knew that something has happened to my daughter. When we got to the house, that very day, I didn't notice anything. It was 2 days later, I realized that my daughter's head was getting swollen. I didn't know that it was something so serious. But at that moment, I was just saying maybe we need to be pressing hot water and all the rest. I never knew that this child hit the head, and the midwife did not tell me. After 3 to 4 days, the child's head grew up. And that was when we rushed this child to Omega Clinic here. We got to Omega Clinic, the doctor looked at the child and said, "What happened to the child?" I said, "All I can tell you is that while I was pushing, the midwife shouted, 'Jesus,' but I don't know what happened." I even asked her, she said nothing. But I just noticed that the child's head is growing. The doctor said, "Madam, what you're seeing is pus. The thing that has swollen up has turned to big pus. Imagine how many days child with a big pus on the head." And at that moment, I looked up, I said, "God, remember, I waited for these children for 9 years. And now you've started blessing me. It will not be mixed with sorrow." And I told the doctor, "What are we going to do?" The doctor said, "The only solution is surgery." I said, "How can a child of this tender, you want to do a surgery?" And the doctor looked at us and said, "That's the option, and it's 50-50. 50-50 is either the child survives, because it has to do with the brain. So it's either the child survives or the child lives." At that point, I got broken. I started crying. I said, "God, you can't leave me here. You can't leave me like this. Where do I start from?" And the doctor said, "Should I go ahead or not? If you want me to go ahead, your husband has to sign." Baba said, "Go ahead." He signed. He said, "Take her into the theater." I was watching my daughter entering into the theater. Tender child. And when they pushed her into the theater, I was just seated there and saying to God, "Just have your way. Leave it there." I left it there. And I said, "God, let your will." After some minutes, they came out of the theater and they brought out the girl. She was still sleeping. And the doctor said, "Let's watch her. After some time, let's see how it goes." She wakes up. She doesn't wake up. I said, "Don't even go there." And the doctor brought out the bowl where they poured the pus that came out from this girl's head. Sister Raju was there. They brought out the pus and we looked at her. At that moment, I just sat close to her bed and I was looking at her. I said, "God, you need to keep this girl." They used the plaster the head and all the rest. And do you know one thing that made me to cry? After that opening and bringing out the pus, this girl's head became flat. When I mean flat, see this ogo is nowhere to be found. Her head was like, slits. The only thing you can see is just the face and a flat head. And I looked at her, I said, "Is this my daughter? So how will this girl grow to look like this? How can this girl grow looking like this?" When we got home, we sat down. And I was looking at, I said, God, you are the one that brought this child. Take care of her. Days passed. We went back to the hospital. They removed the plaster. And the doctor said, allow it to heal. They shaved off the whole hair. Allow it to heal. And we said, okay. But this girl kept growing. And the head was still flat. After some months, the doctor said that with this kind of thing that happened to this girl, she needs to go for a thorough X-ray to know if her brain is still okay. To still know if she's still normal. Because what happened to her must have affected her brain. Say, we have to go for an X-ray. I say X-ray. They connected us to a Chinese, not just ordinary X-ray. These people are China people. Professional China people. They said there is a machine, that machine, they will put the child inside the machine and roll her into the machine and close the machine. That one was another phase that I had to go through. I took this child to the place and they told me, we are going to inject the child. And this injection is when they inject somebody, the person will be as if the person is dead. So the injection lasts for, but I think whether 6 or 8 hours. The person will not shake body. That is your between life and death. Say, because inside that machine, if she shakes her body, everything is gone. So how can you give this small child this kind of injection? And the doctor said, madam, if you don't want me to give the child the injection, the child is not entering into the machine, because once she enters and she shakes her body, so how can you give the child something that you're saying that the person will die and will be between life and death again? For how many months speaking? I said, okay. I hand it over to God. The doctor brought the injection, injected her. Why the injection was piercing into her body, I just saw her. She just, and they wore her their clothes, opened the machine. You need to see this machine, big machine. Pulled her into the machine and locked. When this girl was in there, the thing is like a glass. They said, if I want to stay and be watching her, I can stay while they are doing their thing. I said, I'll go stay here. I want to stay. Let me be seeing her. Do you know that injection that they said is going to be 8 hours? After 1 hour, my daughter began to do like this. Inside the machine, I screamed, doctor, bring her out. The doctor immediately, they just quickly opened and dragged her out. And the doctor said, I have never seen this kind of thing before. I have never seen this kind of thing before. He said, madam, we are not doing this again today. You have to go and come back another 1 week time. By then, that is when the injection in her body will even go out. I carried the baby. I went back home. Go to the house. And I was still believing God. I said, God, I know you are the one that gave me this child. You will not leave me halfway. 1 week time, we returned back again. And the doctor said, if you try it this time again, and she moves her body, that is the last. Because she can't take this injection 3 times. If you give her this injection the 3rd time, she's gone. And I sat down and I said, God, please help me. That is why I say to you, he makes those things that seem impossible to become possible. They injected her for the 2nd time. fixed her into that machine. And while she passed into the machine, I was there praying. I said, God, just keep her. Just keep her. For how many hours they were busy checking the brain, checking the brain, checking the brain, checking the brain, checking the brain. At the end of it all, they said, Madam, we are done. They brought her out. Say, she should come back for the result. When we went back for the results, the doctor said, we've checked your daughter's brain. Everything is intact. Everything is okay. And when I came out, I was relieved. And I thanked God for keeping her well. And when we came out of that hospital, I just looked up and I said, God, thank you. But that was just the second phase. And the third phase came. When she got to the stage of sitting down, the head could not carry, the body could not carry the head. Because her neck was weak because of the damage. So each time you sit her down, and she has big body. So once you sit her down, her head will drag her and she will fall. The brother was sitting, but she can't sit. The brother started standing, she couldn't stand. The brother started walking, she couldn't sit. And I entered into another phase. Where each morning I wake up, I look at her and I say, you are a daughter of destiny. You are more than this, you are better than this. And I keep speaking to her, I say, you're beautiful. You will make me proud. You are a special child. You will be a great child. I kept speaking. I kept speaking. I kept speaking. There is one thing with the devil. And devil is a wicked human being. Very wicked human being. Do you know that at the long run, I started having negative thoughts. And I said to myself, will this child ever? And I kept fighting with that thought. And while I was fighting with the thought, a negative thought crept in and said, it mean you will bring up a child that is an imbecile, a child that cannot sit, a child that cannot carry head. Is this the kind of child you want to have? Why not kill her? Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because some of you here, you feel that there are situations that God cannot handle. So why can't you just kill her and let her die? Where will you put your face? How will you be walking, or how will you be carrying this child up and down? And I looked at the girl. I said, no, I can't kill my child. Why? He said, dear, you can't kill your child. When they talk about picking, this one follow. And if you're talking about the child, is this one of the child you're looking for? Where will you keep your face when people will be calling you the mother of an imbecile? Where will you hide your face? And when you're going out, where will you keep her? For how long will you keep hiding her? And I cried. I said, God, how can I use my own hand and kill my own child? God forbid. To show you how devil is trickish, started giving me different strategy. He said, just poison her. Nobody will know. Either by her drugs, by her food. Just do something. That very day, I was just seated and I was shedding tears. I was crying. I was praying to God. I was telling God, God, this is not the promise you have for me. This is not what you promised me. How can it be this way? While I was crying and I was praying to God. The next morning, I woke up. I looked at this girl. And it's as if something has entered into me that I should just strangle her. When I looked at her, I was between, when somebody is struggling between, will you do it? Will you not do it? Why not do it? No, I cannot do it. And while I was between that struggle, my mom came in. My mom said, what is it? Why are you like this? And I said to her, Momsy, I'm tired. I have prayed, yes, and I believe that God can do something concerning this child, but I am contending with my soul. I just feel like killing her. And my mom looked at me and she smiled. And she said, I know the pain you're going through. And I know what is in your mind. But you see this, my grandchild, go nowhere. You see this girl? Tomorrow when you see this girl, even you will be happy. And I looked at her. Inside of me, I was like, you're not going to understand because not be for your house weighing there. It's not directly fixed to you. And it's like my mom read my mind. She went and told my dad. He said, you need to talk with your daughter. She is not happy and she can do anything. My dad called me. I went to my dad's place. My dad spoke to me and said, no matter what, this child is given to you by God. And I know you have the faith. Even as I'm looking at you, I know you have the faith that this child is going to be healed, hale, and hearty. But it's just that there is something contending with your spirit. So please, hold on to God. He has never failed, and I have never seen that he has failed. Hold on to him. He will come true. And at the end of the day, suddenly, a child that could not sit, she was at her 7 to 8 months. She has not sat for one day. One of the days I came into the room only for me to see Benita seated on the bed. At first it was like a film to me. I went out. I came back again to see whether I was dreaming. When I returned, I looked again. This girl was, the way her body is. She was balanced well. But there was something that I noticed. While she was seated on that bed, she was struggling with her head. The head is trying to pull her down, but she's like, I will not go down. The head is trying to pull her down. She was like, I sit down here. While she was struggling and struggling, I looked at her. I knelt down. And I said, God, thank you. From that day, that girl began to sit. She doesn't like lying down again. Anytime you just keep her. As you lie her, she sits. The next thing, she started crawling. Before I knew, she started standing. It took that girl just 1 month to sit, to crawl, to stand. When I mean speed. When I mean, it now got to the point that the time that the twin brothers started walking was when she was walking. Now, let me tell you the mysterious part of the whole story. How the head grew back is what up to today, I don't know. If you look at Benita's head now, if they tell you that she once had such issues, you will never, most of you that have seen my twin girl, you will never believe that she had such issue. And all that God told me about that girl, the Lord has been bringing them to pass. Beautiful girl that the devil wanted to destroy. There is nothing impossible for God to do. Rise up on your feet.